Hi guys, and welcome back to part 2 of the Grayling Classic video. So it's Friday afternoon. Anglers will be descending from all over the country onto Romsey Golf Club tonight because that's where the draw is going to take place. We'll be briefed on the match rules and there'll be a fair spread of food for us fat boys to get in about. But this afternoon is a perfect time for walking the beats, familiarising yourself with the river. Not everyone's been able to practice and conditions throughout the week have been terrible, but I can tell you right now the river's fining down just perfectly, and as John Hall told me in the week, there could be some record numbers this weekend. So without further ado, let's get into it. So what's the point of walking the beats? Well, year on year the beats can change slightly, and when you get your draw tonight, if you've walked the beats and made some notes on the various different beat sections, it gives you a good idea to come up with a plan come match day. So that's what I'm about to do. Well, that's a year past already since I last spoke with John Hall. He keeps the river on the Broadlands Estate, and what do you think the prospects for the comp this year are, John?
Oh, quite incredible. It's been a whole year, hasn't it? Lots happened.
I know.
Yeah, no, it's looking really good. River's been up during the week, came up Wednesday, and it was very high.
Here Wednesday,
yeah, very high
really
colour Wednesday and Thursday. So effectively, the river's had a rest for 3 days, which is a first.
Yeah.
So river's falling, temperatures are rising. Looks really, really good. I think it's going to fish its head off tomorrow. A really good morning session tomorrow, and the rest of the weekend. So fingers crossed for that. The beats are, as before, numbered from bottom to top. So when you pick your card in the morning, find your peg that matches the number on your card.
Well, that's session 1 finished. It was only an hour and a half, and by golly, didn't it shoot past at some pace. Me and Ian's done pretty well. We had 13 between us. I've got to say Ian had the lion's share of the fish, catching 10. Now, we found the fish quite late on in the session, and I was a bit slow getting to the party, and by the time I got there, I only had 5 or 6 minutes, but in that 5 or 6 minutes I managed to hook and lose 2 very large grayling. So I'm a bit broken up about that, but still it is what it is. So we're into the second session and we're controlling Brian and Lewis from Northern Ireland. They've drove all the way here, they've never fished the river before, and it's an absolutely top nick. So I hope they're going to have a great session. Let's see how they're getting on. So I'm controlling Lewis here, and he's taken the double nymph approach. He's set up a couple of rods. Most of the competition anglers do tend to set up a couple of rigs just to give them options. But Lewis, we're about 6 or 7 minutes into the session, and Lewis is working his way up where my partner Ian caught several fish just towards the end. And we're having a little look at Brian now. He's actually Lewis's dad, so father and son team. He's a very experienced angler. He's in the Northern Ireland Commonwealth team this year, and he'll be off to Ireland next year. So let's hope he's just playing a fish. Well done, Brian. Well, we're nearly halfway through the session now, and despite both anglers getting in where Ian and I finished, and there seemed to be plenty grayling, they're not feeding. Brian's had 2 and Lewis has had 1, but as a consolation prize and a bycatch, Brian's had a huge brown trout, and it looked a stunning fish from where I was, but it's just a shame that brown trout don't count in the Grayling Classic. Well, there's only 30 minutes left in the session, and you know, folks say the kids grow up fast. Well, obviously they've never fished a competition on a pegged session for a limited time, because you step in the water, you blink, and the session's over. It goes awfully quickly when you're fishing. Not so quick if you're stood on the bank watching, mind. Well, that's the end of the session, and what a finish for Brian. He absolutely nailed it with only minutes to go. He hooked fish after fish and took 3 to the net in the last couple of minutes, and the last one was an absolute stonker. Let's have a look at it. Well, that's us started session 3. I'm controlling Simon Barton. He's got off to a flyer of a start and had a grayling on his only second cast. He's at the top of beat 10, his partner is working the bottom of beat 10, and he's being controlled by my partner, Ian Pinder. It's a promising start. Let's see how we get on for the rest of the session. We're over halfway through the session now. Simon's now moved down the beat and he's at the bottom of beat 10. He's joined his partner who's sitting on 6 fish at the moment, and Simon's had 8. So they're doing very well, I think. Well, that's session 3 over and done with. I'm going to adjust my tackle and get in the river and go for session 4. I let my partner down badly on the last session, and he's been giving me jip for the last 2 hours. So I'm going to try and do better this afternoon. That's the end of session 3 for us, and it was tough going. You've got to remember that the water's been fished by 4 other anglers previously, and there was some decent numbers came off of this beat as well. We toiled away, we used various methods. Double nymph worked really well in certain spots, and fishing trio worked in other areas. It was a tough afternoon, but Ian and I have managed to catch 19 fish between us, which we're fairly pleased with. It's a reasonable total considering the amount of pressure the beats had. So that's day 1 over. It's back to the hotel for a scrub up and a shower, a hot meal, and probably an early night for me. I'll see you tomorrow. Well, it's the last day of competition and I'm standing at the top of beat 3. It's a bit more civilised today. We've had a nice sit down breakfast and we're starting our first session at 10 o'clock. It's a 2-hour session, so I'm going to be fishing from 10 to 12 and then we'll swap over, and the people that were controlling us will be fishing from 12 to 2, with maybe a 10 minute sort of overlap for them to change over. But really looking forward to it. The rain's stayed away, the river's looking lovely this morning, and hopefully we'll catch a few fish. Let's get on. Well, that's me and Ian's tournament over. It was a rough old finish, I've got to say. So we had beat 3 and we fished it first from 10 till 12. It was very, very difficult. Between us we only managed 5 fish, which is pretty poor. Now, it's not really the river's fault. I know there's lots of fish in there. They just weren't having it today. So anyway, we're now controlling father and son team Tony and Harry Fox, and they've just started and they've gone to opposite sides of the riverbank. Let's see how they get on with their session. The organisation of the competition has been absolutely superb. They lay on a fantastic banquet on Friday night. Everyone has a couple of beers, there's a few laughs, there's plenty of banter, and it's a great competition. If you've not done competition fishing before, I would suggest this is the one to start with. It really is a superbly run match. I just want to take this opportunity to thank my partner Ian Pinder. He's really stepped up. These videos aren't possible without the help of the anglers that are fishing in the river and the guys controlling, and Ian's looking after both the anglers so that I can do a little bit of filming, and I really appreciate that. Well, we're about halfway through the session and Tony's found a little seam just behind me here, and he's got some grayling feeding. He's managed to get 7 now, nothing big, but in this competition there's no measure. Every fish that's a grayling counts. As the session starts to wear on, the anglers start to move around a lot more, and they're trying to cover as much of the river as possible. It's quite a short beat this, so there isn't a great deal of water to go at. It's maybe 150 metres, but there's some good water here. But you've got to remember that the beat has had 6 anglers yesterday, and they're very competent anglers, hooking fish and taking fish. So the last session is always going to be quite tough, and I think Tony and Harry's doing an excellent job so far. That's almost the last session finished, and Tony and Harry have done exceptionally well. Tony's done the bulk of the work with over 16 fish to the net, and Harry's had an absolute clunker at 42 centimetres. The competition's been superb. It's the first year I can recall actually that we've not been fishing in a hurricane or a torrential downpour, and I hope that's the theme of years to come.
Come on, ladies, anyone that's listening, walk out. Well done, thank you ever so much again. We had a fantastic event this year, as it always is. It didn't rain yet, it's just about to. Congratulations, everyone fished very well, no one drowned, which we like. We ended up with 1,308 fish over the 2 days, which is quite incredible really. Really quite incredible. Big fish, the biggest of all being a 48 centimetre fish, caught by Nathan Gittins. So if you'd like to come up, Nathan, come on up, mate. Right, I'm going to go through the scores from bottom to top, and because we're a friendly comp, everybody with bottom. We're going to start with the Horn of Gondor. The Horn of Gondor. Who has been lucky enough this year?
The proud owners of this for the next year are the Wilderness.
Yes! Come on, boys. Come on. I was going to give this back to you, but soon as you know, no. Keep it. Well done, mate. There you go.
Third place goes to Wet You're Not.
Woohoo! Boys, got some rod holders and some teas. Just for you, so. There you go.
Cheers, bud.
Well done, boys. Fish well. Well done. Happy day.
Second place, Welsh Hydrocycling. Top landing, boys. Some Fasna stuff, some hunts, and some Cooksil vouchers there, online voucher code for Cooksil.
So if you want to come and grab it.
And the winners.
Ooh. Hold on. There you go, lads. T-shirts. Hunt gear and gift vouchers there. Alright, thank you, boys.
Which only leaves the winners as Sportfish Winforden.
Thank you, Nate.
And no worries.